Hi, welcome to Smart Architectural Programming. Exporting Python data frames to SQL, Pandas versus SQLAlchemy.
This basically what in this engine line does, it's basically uh, creates a SQL Alchemy engine to connect to a SQLite database. That's what all this is doing. Now we go back to the last line, which is df dataframe.sql. We're using the toSQL method. Basically, I'll just go over the inputs here for this method. We define that we want to save our data into the people column, the column or row with the people name in it. We use the connection. The connection for to SQL is the engine that we created above. We need to we use the if exists equal to replace to check for that if an entry is there, we replace that entry. So if the people column or row has some entries, we replace that entry with the data frame entries. And that is basically simply how you can export a data frame to a SQLite database. Now that we're done with that, this is a very simple solution to the problem we were discussing. Now, the next example here we'll be dealing with is creating a complete new database in a SQL database. Here, we're dealing with an existing database. Next coding example, we will be dealing with a database that we create on our own. We set up the parameters, how it needs to look like, so on and so forth. Again, I won't be going deep into explaining how the database is set up, because that is something that requires, again, a completely separate video for, but you'll get the gist of how it's done using this code, basically. So to create a database, the most important thing is you need to have a schema, which is basically a sort of blueprint that tells SQL, we want a database to store this, and this information. So we're just basically creating a blueprint for the database to understand which information is important and which information we need to store, right? So from lines 1 to 4, we import all the libraries that we need. We import pandas again. On line 2, we import SQLAlchemy methods, create engine, column, integer, and string. On line 3, we import from SQLAlchemy.ext.declarative. We import declarative base. And on line 4, we use SQLAlchemy.orm to import session maker. Line 6 to 11 creates the same dictionary, and 12 uses pandas to convert that into data frame. On line 14 and 15, basically what we're doing is we're defining a SQLAlchemy base, basically using base equals to declarative base method. Again, look this up, use Google. I'm not gonna go too deep into the SQLAlchemy methods and what they do best. So moving forward, from line 17 onwards, basically what we define is a class, or in simple terms, here what we are defining is the schema or the template or the blueprint for the SQLite database. So from 17 to 24, we define a class called person, which includes the table name, so on and so forth. A table class here is referring to the blueprint or schema of that table. On line 26 and 27, we use the engine variable, use the create engine method to create a database connection. On line 29 and 30, we create the table schema, which is basically using the schema that we created above. We're just simply asking using base.metadata.createAll, telling the SQLAlchemy to go and use that schema or blueprint to create a SQLite database based on that. Then we create a session using the session maker method on line 33, and then we open a session on line 34, basically. And when the session is opened, we iterate through the data frame using a for loop for index row in df.iterRows. IterRows is a method we use to iterate over the rows in data frame. And then we basically create a variable called person, which uses the person object to map out the name row, the age row, and the city row from the data frame, and then use session.add person to add that variable to the database using session.add. To commit and save the changes that you just made using that for loop by going over the data frame, we use session.commit and session.close on line 42 to 43. This is basically not only the way on how you can create a database, a specialized database according to your requirements, but at the same time, you can save information or data frame within that SQLite database. So again, I didn't go over the entire process of creating the database because that would require a separate video. If you want a video on that, please let us know in the comments. Otherwise, with that, I would wrap up my video. George, would you like to add anything at the end? With that, I will close our video. Remember to like and subscribe our channel, and we'll see you on our next video.